and today I'm doing a book review of If I Tell You by Alicia Tuckerman. I was sent this book by Pantera Press in exchange for an honest review, so thank you very much Pantera for sending this book my way. I was highly anticipating this one and it did not disappoint. Oh my goodness, this book was so good. This book is Alicia's debut novel and it actually came with a letter written by the author, which was really sweet, and it sort of explained to us that this is not her story per se, but it's something that definitely resonates very strongly with her and is something that she's very passionate about, and you can definitely tell that while reading this book. And it's a debut novel, like I said, and you'll need to read it because it is that good. So it's going to be a spoiler-free book review, so don't worry that you haven't yet read If I Tell You. You are more than welcome to stay for the entire duration of the video. You will not be spoiled. So this book is about a girl named Alex who lives in a rural Australian town and is gay but hasn't told anybody. She's basically planning on waiting until she moves away from the town in order to sort of come out to everybody. But that all changes when an openly gay girl named Phoenix moves to town and changes everything that Alex has ever known about the world. The problem, of course, is that this is a very small town and the town has people who have very small minds. So while Alex has fallen for Phoenix, she is terrified to show the world because she lives in a small town where everyone has small minds and girls don't go out with other girls. This book is all about Alex's journey as she becomes more comfortable with herself and in her own skin, and is sort of her learning how to become who she was meant to be. It's amazing! You need to read it. So the book is told in first person point of view, and that means that the writing style is very much Alex. It's basically Alex's voice that we get to read from, so I loved that. I loved it. It made it very easy to sort of speed through the book, which is something that you are definitely going to want to do, especially when you get towards the ending of the novel. You're not going to want to put it down, trust me. So I think that it has a very relaxed conversational kind of writing style. It's not very dense. It's sort of just there. It's good. I love it. I'm really not the best person to talk about writing style in books, but I do it anyway. The world building is incredible. So being from Australia myself, the amount of Australianisms in this book is incredible. Oh man, it's so good. The characters speak Australian, and unless you live here, you don't know what I mean by they speak Australian, but they speak Australian and it's amazing. And we have all these things, like some of the food they talk about, and they talk about like going to the and just some of the stuff they talk about is so Australian, like it's not even funny, and I loved every second of it. It was so refreshing to get to see myself like in a book. But I also loved the way that the small town that Alex lived in was portrayed. I think that it definitely, while I've never lived in a small town myself, so I don't really know what the prejudices are and that sort of thing, I think that if we were going to have prejudice people, the likelihood is they are going to be in a small town, because in a small town everybody knows everybody, and it's that sort of thing where if you're living in a small town, the likelihood is that your family has been there for a very long time, so everyone knows everyone, everyone's family is connected in some way or another, and I think that that makes it very difficult for change to occur in places like that. And I think that that's something that Alicia has done really, really well in this novel, is she has portrayed this town, while it might be a little bit stereotypical and not all of the elements might be completely true. Again, I don't know, I haven't ever lived in a small Australian town, but I think that it works really well for this novel and the world building that has occurred, and we've really got to see Alex's world is just, it's really well done, and I absolutely loved it. These characters are phenomenal. They really are. They are so three-dimensional and unique, and each one has its own sort of quirks, but also Alex is learning about herself just as much as she's learning about everybody else, and everybody else is learning about her. One of the things that I loved most about Alex is that she was a very relatable protagonist, and while not everyone will be going through exactly the same thing that Alex is going through, everyone can relate to the fact that they all have fears in their own life that they are afraid to tell people. And I think that the way that Alex journeys from one place to another, you can relate to that. Even if you don't completely relate to what she's going through, you can relate to this idea of having this secret that you don't really want anybody to know, and then having the courage to come out and tell everyone. And I just think that's something really special and something that you have to admire, and I love Alex for that, because she is just that protagonist that you can't help but fall in love with. Like I said, the entire cast of characters was just so three-dimensional and unique, and really added something to the story and really made it feel personal. And I think that's one of the most important things about this book, is reading it, it felt very personal. It was a very personal story that was being told, and while it was Alex's story, it was also just as much everybody else's story. It was Phoenix's, in a way that she had to come to terms with falling for this girl who was afraid to be who she is. Everyone else had to learn to accept someone who they thought was one person and then turns out to be somebody else. But I just think that the entire cast of characters this was incredible. Hands down, Van, Gilly, and Alex's dad are three of my favorite characters. They took on such a mentoring role and were all so important to the story. I think every single character represented something, represented a fear, or represented something that you wanted to work through, and I think that was very important and necessary for this story. This story is all about representation, and to have that, this story was all about representation, and to have the mentoring roles are definitely necessities in this book. The plot of this one I thought was going to be really simple. I thought it was literally just going to be about this girl Alex who falls in love with this other girl Phoenix and has to come to terms with all the hate and prejudice that she might get and has to learn how to be who she is. Well, that is what happened, but things quickly take a turn, and what started out as one thing ended up as something completely different, and I was not expecting it, and it was so good, but it like threw me for a loop, and that is the moment when that happened. That was the moment, because there's sort of foreshadowing happening throughout the entire novel, and then you get to the point where you realize what's going on, and you just go, oh damn, I can't put this book down now. That's exactly what happened to me. I got to this point where I just went, and now I have to finish this to find out what happens, and I finished it, and I mean, I was a mess. I was an emotional wreck when I finished this book, but you should definitely read it. Like, it's a good emotional wreck. It's very cathartic, but like it's emotional, and prepare yourself for like heartbreak. All in all, I gave If I Tell You 5 out of 5 stars, and I recommend it to literally everybody. Honestly, I think it's one of those very important, necessary stories that need to be told in this day and age, because we are still living in a world where this sort of thing happens. I mean, the book is set, I'm pretty sure the book is set like in 2017, and the fact that we know full well this sort of thing, this sort of prejudice is still occurring in everyday life, and it really needs to stop. This is one of those books that's going to help that happen, and for that reason, everyone needs to read it. It's so good. I love it to pieces, and I cannot wait to see what Alicia writes next. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comment section below if you have plans to pick up If I Tell You. I would absolutely love to know. If you like this video, be sure to give it a huge thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Stay random. Bye.